Hi new friends, I'm Kat and welcome to my channel. Exactly 1 week ago, I attended FanExpo in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and while the convention was an absolute blast, my first time vlogging, not so much. Chalk it up to inexperience, technical issues, bad luck, or a mix of all of the above. Most of the footage I took was either corrupted or rendered useless by the fact that my microphone was muted. I spent the past week brainstorming ways to use the footage I took, and this video is the result. While the convention took place over the entire weekend, my friends and I attended on May 4th, Star Wars Day. Whether happy coincidence or perfect planning by the event staff, the overall theme of the weekend seemed to be heavily influenced around the holiday. Whether it be the attendance of celebrity guests like Ashley Eckstein, Hayden Christensen, and Rosario Dawson, or some really stellar displays by the 501st Legion and others, the love of Star Wars was felt throughout the entire weekend. My main goal in attending this convention was to meet the insanely talented Alan Tudyk. I've been a fan of Alan since his time on Firefly, but his more recent work with Disney has solidified him as my favorite actor. I'm a huge fan of the Disney cartoon Star vs. the Force of Evil, and his character Ludo is my favorite on the series. As soon as I saw him added to the roster, I knew I'd had to go and have him sign my Ludo pop figure. He was insanely kind and gracious, and took his time with each fan. As soon as I walked up and handed him the Ludo pop figure, he took one look at me and started doing the voice for me. It's a moment I'll never forget. Walking onto the main floor of the convention, we were greeted with aisle after aisle of vendors. Everything from comic books, pop figures, statues, Lego, tabletop games and accessories, and so much amazing artwork on Artist Alley. There was really something for everyone. With all the amazing vendors that were on the show floor, you may be wondering to yourself, hey Kat, what did you buy? I'll tell you, imaginary person on the other end of this conversation. When we first got to the show floor, one of my friends decided to go off and wait in a line for something. So me and my other friend decided to start taking it aisle by aisle and seeing what we could find. So the first aisle we go down, we see just row and row of these gachapon machines. Anything you could possibly want, anything from anime to Disney to Marvel. And as we're going down the first row, my friend says, hey Kat, they have Tangled. And Tangled's one of my favorite movies of all time. Really, Pascal and Rapunzel are some of my favorite Disney characters. So I got some coins and put them in machines. And ended up getting two different ones out. The first one I got was Flynn, or Eugene, whatever you want to prefer to call him. And the second one I got out was Pascal. I only got two of them because I knew if I started getting more, I'd want to keep putting money in. So I just kind of played it safe with the two. The second thing, they had a bunch of different vendors with custom Lego minifigures. And you know, there were probably about 3 or 4 of these there. But as I'm walking past one, there's a little girl and her mom looking at them, and the little girl picks them out and hands the gentleman who's working the stand some money. And he looks at the mom and says, excuse me, miss, he says, is this her money? And she said, yeah, she saved up her allowance to come here. And he said, no. He said, let her pick out 3 more for free if it's her money. So obviously with that kind of character, I wanted to support his stand whether I really needed the minifigures or not. But I happened, as I was looking through, to see a Gwen figure. Gwen is my favorite superhero. I have pretty much every comic that she's appeared in, so I definitely had to add this to my Gwen collection. I have tons of other, Gwen action figures and plushies and that kind of stuff. I saw that he had Jack and Sally and Beetlejuice. I am a huge Tim Burton fan, so I definitely wanted to add these to my collection. I found he had Hobie Spider-Punk, and I couldn't leave the convention on Star Wars Day without adding something Star Wars, so I got Ahsoka as well. Now, going into the convention, I kind of knew that there wouldn't be, tons and tons of comic vendors there because it was more of a, pop culture convention than just a comic convention. But as I walked in, I saw one of the rows had mostly comic vendors there, and I walk up to one and ask him. I said, I collect Spider-Gwen comics. I said, I have all her appearances, but I'm currently trying to finish all of her variant covers as well. I said, do you have any? And he says, yep. He said, if you look over here. So he goes over, takes me over, I start rooting through, and I managed to find 4 that I didn't have to add to my collection. So that was, in my opinion, a big win for the weekend. Now, as we're going down Artist Alley, there's just tons of amazing artwork, and I wanted to buy so much of it, but I had to kind of pick and choose with my budget. And we walked past this one booth, and they had the most beautiful Gwen art that I think I've ever seen anyone do, and I really, really wanted it for my collection. But unfortunately, it was all done on metal, so it was very, very expensive. But as I'm walking around the stand, I see that the person that owned the stand also had the same artwork in 8 by 10 and what they called bookmark size. So I picked this up. It was absolutely incredible. If you look earlier in the video, I featured their stand. I'm really glad I got to pick this up. I thought about using it as an actual bookmark, but I think I'm just going to put it up with the rest of my Gwen stuff. Speaking of Gwen, I really love enamel pins. I collect Disney pins and other, fantasy pins that you find at conventions and stuff. So I walked by this stand, and they had this little Gwen pin, which I do not have in my collection. And then as we were leaving the convention, I walked past the exclusive merch stand for FanExpo, and I don't know how I missed this walking in, but they also had this one as well. Now, speaking of pins in Artist Alley, as I'm walking past this stand, we walk by and I see they have all these different cat pins at this one stand. So I'm looking through the different cat pins because I absolutely love cats, specifically orange cats. I have an orange cat. His name is Rocket. I'm sure in future videos he'll eventually make an appearance. But another thing I loved from my childhood was Dance Dance Revolution. I was real into DDR and other rhythm games growing up, and we'd go to the arcade every single Friday night, some Saturday nights, and play until our parents came pick us up. And I happened to see this. It's an orange cat playing DDR, so I definitely had to add that to my collection. As I was walking past Artist Alley, I see a guy sitting on one of the stands, and he's just waving at people with these big Mickey Mouse gloves on, like you'd get in the Disney World gift shops. And that's obviously a very effective way to get my attention. So I go over to his stand and start talking to him, and it turns out that he writes these, kind of history books on different pop culture subjects. And he had one there for Mario, but his new one that he was promoting there was called A Mouse Divided. So I start looking through it, and the gentleman Jeff Ryan says, well, I have the paperbacks here and they're $20, and he says if you're a Disney fan, it's a must read. And I'm always looking to read more Disney books and stuff, so I picked it up. This is my first time vlogging, and despite all the technical issues I had, despite some of the footage I shot getting corrupted, I really feel that it was a good learning experience. I feel I learned a lot. Some of the things I learned are you cannot be afraid to go up and talk to people and ask questions. I suffer from extreme anxiety to the point where sometimes it's hard to even leave my house, let alone go to a convention like this. So I felt that was a step in the right direction, but I need to come out of my comfort zone even more. There were tons of different cosplayers there that I would have loved to get shots of. There were times during the panels that I attended, despite that footage being corrupted, during Alan Tudyk's panel, the front row had one seat open, and I didn't know if, the person that was sitting in the seat next to that was holding it for someone or not. And if I would have gone up and asked, 3 minutes later someone else went up and asked, and they got that spot, I would have had great footage. But it's a learning experience. You take each event at a time and hopefully get better and better. Is the vlog I'm posting right now perfect? Not in the least bit, but I had a blast making it, and I'm very excited to make more. My final thoughts on the convention. I have been to some of the major conventions, including Baltimore and New York. I would make this a priority over those to go to in the future. I feel that the convention was extremely well organized, more so than even some of the bigger conventions. There was very limited waiting in lines, even for the bigger panels. It was more of, the room is huge, you walk in, you find a seat, you get to see the panels you want to, instead of, waiting in line all day for that one panel that you want to see, because you're not going to get in if you don't wait in line. I feel it's the feel of the bigger conventions without all of the negatives that come with that. So if you're looking for a convention to attend to, I would definitely recommend one of the FanExpo conventions. Thank you guys so much for watching. I also stream Disney content 2 to 3 times a week on Twitch. I'll link that up in the top with my other socials, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks. See you next time.